everyone, Patty here, full-time reseller on eBay, Poshmark and Mercari, better known as Girl Hustle on YouTube. Today I'm going to be sharing with you tips on buying vintage girdles. I'd like to welcome everybody to my channel. Thank you so much for all the support I got. I finally hit my first 100 subscribers. Thank you. I appreciate it. I truly appreciate the comments, the likes, all the encouragement that I get from all my viewers. So the first thing I'm going to do, I want to share with you something you may not know when you're buying a vintage girdle. Now, I'm not going to get into the history because I want to make this video nice and quick. So I am going to share with you some tips that'll help you find the best ones, the prices that I usually pay for them, what you can sell them for, but more important, what you want to look for when buying them. If you're not selling vintage shapers, or even if you're not selling anything in the vintage undergarments, even the modern undergarments, you are missing out. I highly recommend you look up the sold listings on girdles, shapers, etc. So one of the main reasons that women buy these is, of course, to have that sexier figure. But I'm not sure if you all know that, and I'm sure a lot of you do if you buy these, but there's a certain way that when you're buying a vintage girdle, specifically a girdle, this is a tip, to get that nicer form-fitting figure look, you're going to measure yourself, and then you're going to buy 1 to 2 inches smaller than what you get. This is how they get that look. This is how it's going to fit the best for you. If you put it on and it fits exactly, it's not going to give you the effect you want under your clothes, your desired effect. So you want to measure yourself, and then purchase, if you're looking to purchase for yourself, 1 to 2 inches smaller than the size. So hopefully that helps you. Hopefully I shared something that you didn't know. Any types of girdles, you're going to have the full figure girdles. Then you're going to have your open bottom ones, and you're also going to have your shapers. And the shape find in the girdles, you're going to find the regular girdles, you're going to find the full body girdles, and you're going to find the body shapers. All three of these you can find with garters. All of them don't have them though. In my story of finding some good ones. So a couple years ago, we went to one of the flea markets in our area, and I've been selling girdles for years. I've had another eBay account, and that I don't have that account any longer. But anyway, I've been selling vintage lingerie and stuff for years. And I would look for, when I'm out, I always look for certain things that have been very good sellers for me. One of them being vintage girdles. So we went to this one flea market, and this lady who has some of the most beautifulest lingerie and stuff I ever seen, girdles, stockings, everything I've ever seen, but she has it all in a flea market, and it's marked up a little bit, but there's still room to make some profit on it. But anyway, so I'm going through her stuff, and I found this old bag, or this bag filled with, she probably had around 50 to 100 pairs in this bag. I asked her what, I tried offering her. She's not one to deal really much. She doesn't deal in big lots. So I did try to offer her money for the whole bag, and I'm so glad she didn't take me up on it, because as I looked through the bag, everything wasn't as it seemed. But anyway, so I picked a few girdles out. They were $3 a piece. I picked some of them out, came home, and listed them. Now, within 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, I had an offer from a buyer. I listed it at this time. Now, this was probably 15 years ago, okay? But I listed this item at $20, $19.99, because that's the least I wanted to get for it. I only paid $3, figured I'd get between $20 and $40 for it. she messaged me back and she offered me $280. Of course, I took the deal. But I'm thinking, why did she offer this? Why did she offer me this much money for it? Well, actually, the girdle, most of the girdle was made up. First off, the girdle was vintage. It had, if I remember at the time, it had only 4 garters. However, what sold it was, I think like 90% of it was rubber, and I never found another one that had that much rubber into it. Now I have had, you do find the rubber in the little, underneath the little clamps on there, but this one was mostly made of rubber. So if you see a rubber girdle, buy it, especially if it's vintage and you can get it at a good price. Because no sooner I listed it, it was sold. I mean, I didn't even think about countering offering at this point, because I knew I had something and she was ready to buy. That's the one story. And then my other one I want to tell you quick. Again, we were at a different flea market, and of course I look for these things. And I came across, I asked this lady, she didn't have nothing out, but I said to her, she was an older lady, and I asked her, I said, by the way, do you have any vintage stockings or anything like that? And she said, actually, no, I don't. But she said, I do have this. She looks under the table, she pulls out this box, and in this box was, I bet you no word of a lie, 50 to 75, all brand new vintage in the packages, girdles and bras from like the 60s, the 70s, the 50s. I was like, just like, oh my God. I said, what do you want for the box? She said, I think she said, I don't know what number she said, but we settled on $22. $22. No word of a lie. I made probably between 50, most of them I made the girdles, okay? They were the girdles. They're so hard to find, and I don't have any of them with me. One of them I do, but it's not a really good picture because it sold like a couple years ago. But most of them sold between $75 and up per box. If you can find them, even if they're not in a box, you can still get that much. It doesn't matter, but I hit the jackpot. That was the day that I hit, like, oh my God. But the bras, they were the bullet bras, but anyway, you could tell how exciting I was about finding these. But $22, and I made my money back on that. But anyway, I'm going to share some tips on what you need to look for when looking for these. I'm going to give you some brands. If you're not selling in the shapewear, even the new modern shapewear, you need to sell girdles, shapewear. Women want to look good, and I'm telling you, you can make some money in it. But I'm going to share with you some of the things you want to look for when looking for girdles, specifically vintage girdles. The 6 garters, if they have the 6 garter straps, most of them you're going to find have the 4, but if you can find them with the 6 garter straps, they go for more money. They're more sought after. If they have the metal clamps on the straps, and I have a picture here to show you what I mean. If they have the metal clamps, they're most likely a vintage girdle. You will come across them with plastic attachments on the little clamps, and you will also find them with rubber attachments. The ones with the metal, them ones sell also, but you want to look for the ones with the metal because they go for more money. Also, the 4 garter ones. Another tip, if you can find them boned, which means they will have, which keeps the garment like structured. They will have some of them. The older ones. Some of them I came across with metal bars in them. They might have a metal bar, like a long metal bar going around the undergarment. You can also find them with plastic and rubber in them. The older ones, like kind of fanned ones with a whole bunch of like the lace that are like the kind of Victorian kind of looking ones, maybe from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Then ones go for hundreds, like hundreds, $300-$400. They also have long leg panty girdles, and which go from the waist to the knee, and also just the panty girdles, which kind of they're for your waist and your butt, kind of. Some of the brands you want to look for, you want to get a pen and write these down. Some of the brands you want to look for: Playtex, vintage Playtex, and usually the writing's in blue, but you can find them in black, but it's usually that blue writing, that teal colored blue writing. Vintage Playtex, Sears, Carol Brent. I've seen some Carol Brent ones go for a couple $100. Custom Made, Charmode, Goddess, Camp, Rago. Another thing when you're looking at girdles, you want to look for the ones with the satin going down the center of the stomach and on the sides. They're the ones, and get familiar with it. Google vintage, or not Google, but go on any of the marketplaces, and you can find them on eBay under the sold listings and even the listings that are active, and get familiar with the vintage girdles that's sold and see what they look like so you know what to look for when you go out. They're not that easy to find. You can find them, but the ones that I look for, they're kind of a little bit harder, but they can be found. I don't pay more than, I'll pay $5 for one. If it's one that I know I can make a couple, like if I can make 50 or 60, I'll pay $10 for them. But there's a lot of people selling them, but the vintage ones are harder to find. You can find them on eBay. You can find them on other marketplaces, but they're marked up. So if you can get them at a good price, I highly encourage you buying them. And before you list them, look at sold listings, look at the way the keywords are, get yourself familiar with the way to list it so you can get it sold. And I'm going to give you some tips on listing right now. When I sell a girdle, if it's a rubber girdle or whatever, but if there's like that particular listing that sold for $200 and that sold for $280 for me, I specifically put rubber in the listing, not realizing that you know what I mean. But anyway, you want to put as many keywords about that girdle. So I put, if it's a 6 garter, I will put that in the listing. If it has metal clamps, I will write metal clamps in the listing. If it's boned, I will write boned in the listing. Collectors look for these particular kind because they're harder to find. Shapers, I do have some to show you. Just go for some money. I ended up getting a really good deal in my area. I ended up buying 17 of them. Now this was last year sometime. I ended up getting 17 of them for, I paid $3 a piece for them. They were all, I bought every one of them that was there. I don't even think about it. When I see deal, I bought every one of them, and I have 2 of them left. I gotta put my glasses on for this, but this is like a body shaper, a full body shaper. Okay. In the listings of these, and also this brand is good in X's. This is all, that's a good brand to look for in the vintage girdles. They have a lot of the ones with the they only go to your they go to your knee. They're high leg girdles, but anyway, that's another brand that you want to look for looking for girdles is Flexies. Now this is a newer one, but all of these that I picked up at this thrift store, I only paid $3 a piece, and everyone had a tag. This tag, $43. But when I'm listing stuff like this, like I will put, like, this doesn't have underwires in it, so I will put in my title no wires. If it's wired, if the cups are wired, I will write wired cup. I'll write the size of the cup. Like if this one's a 38C, I'll write 38C. I'll measure it from the top of here down, and also I'll measure it from here. I will give them 2 measurements, and across the waist and the hips. Shapers go for some good money too. I usually do like $24.99. Now these I could have got more. Some of them when I first got them, I got like $32.99 for one, and a couple of them I forget, but I got almost to the asking price on there. But now this one I got from a different, this is like a one of the shapers. This is like a shaper. It's kind of tight. Now this one I got from this particular one I got from another company online. I bought it offline. I think I paid $3 for it, and this is brand new. It's kind of looks, it's a nice deep black though. It's my light shining in, but this is brand new. And this is a body shaper. This one is actually score a 34C, but this one has the underwired cup, so I would write this in the listing. And it's also, this is a firm control, so this is more of a firm shaper. There's different kinds of shapers. So this one right here, this one says instant slimmer. This is also a firm control. It will tell you on the garment if it's a firm control. Now if you're buying it at a thrift store or somewhere, you may not know, so you want to try to give your measurements as best as you could and let the customer know that you're not really sure what kind of control. The other thing that I do is if there's a price tag on it, I will say the regular retail price, and I will put that in the title so that they will know that they're getting a deal, because my price is going to be lower than what's on the tag. Here is another one. This is another Flexies one. And this one just says controls all over. Most of these have Lycra in it. And a lot of them, they will snap down below. So you want to make sure that you let people know that, because sometimes they won't realize that the snap is down at the bottom. Not all of these are made like this, but a lot of them are. But yeah, if you're not selling shapers and girdles, I highly recommend it. Again, you want to look for the ones that have the metal clamps, 6 garters. I don't want to forget anything here. The other ones sell any kind of a shaper. If you see a shaper and you see, if you see shapers, vintage girdles, even the vintage panty, the panty shapers, they all sell. Trying to give you a couple tips here that'll help you find some. Hopefully this helped you out a little bit. Highly recommend getting into the shaper area, vintage girdle area. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I truly appreciate your comments. Let me know what you sell, if you have sold any shapers or girdles, and what you think of it, and I'll talk to you later.